All right, you want to continue, Dave?
All right, let me
We-
put the
thank
lights
you.
on there.
Just to inform all our children that we put all the pictures of Daddy on football pictures and Army pictures that Daddy has, so each one of you can get a copy. So they're all on the tape between the football and the Army, so you can all have them. So we're doing the best we can to try to do this right. Okay. You stopped at Fort Rucker, so you can continue from there.
Okay.
Yeah.
As I said, I was assigned to the weapons platoon of the company, and I was assigned to the light machine gun part of the weapons platoon. Weapons platoon consisted of 60 millimeter mortars and 30 caliber machine guns. The machine gun itself had a tripod, and of course it had to have ammunition. If I remember right, in the squad of the machine gun, with two machine guns were in the weapons platoon. I was assigned, why I don't know, as the gunner. So I carried the machine gun. The machine gun weighed about 27 pounds. The tripod was carried by somebody else who also carried a can of ammunition. Now, if you can imagine these guys, we had 2 or 3 fellas who carried ammunition. They were cans of 12 or 15 pounds, and you carried them in your hands like you were carrying a satchel. And if you had to walk a mile, 2 miles, 5 miles with these cans in your hand, that was a terrible. For me, I carried the machine gun, 27 pounds. I carried it on my shoulder. You shifted the shoulder, and I carried it mostly on my left shoulder. Why, I don't know. But I always felt that years afterwards, when I played football, I always blocked better with my left shoulder than with my right shoulder.
You built up the muscles, that's all.
Tell the muscles. We had all kinds of physical activities. We learned how to shoot the gun. We learned how to work the gun. We didn't shoot the gun. This is the most terrible thing that ever happened you can think of. We were in training in Rucker from August of 44 until we left in November of 45. All right? We had all kinds of maneuvers and learning how to put the gun apart and put it together and never shot the gun. Never shot. We went overseas. We were headed for war. We never shot the gun. The mortar people never fired a mortar. The rifle, yes, we had. There was those who were in basic training and learned how to shoot the rifle like I did or like everybody else did. But we never shot. We never shot live ammunition. This is so contradictory to the Israeli way of fighting. We went, a whole division went to war and hadn't fired a gun. In July of 44, I got a furlough after being in the Army for almost a year. I got a furlough of, 2 weeks, and I went home.
You
How
mean
do you
your
get
mother?
home?
Your mother didn't call you every day in the Army?
Got on a train, went overnight up north. I must have changed. I don't remember. I went to New York. I must have changed to another train to Providence. I don't remember. I got home. I spent 10 days at home. It was very, very nice. I wore a jacket. My mother says it was the hottest summer that they can remember, and I wore a jacket. Why? First of all, it was a brand new type of jacket that I was showing off. And
Was it the Eisenhower jacket?
no, it was not. It was before Eisenhower. This was before the Eisenhower jacket. Became an ordinary olive drab square with 4 pockets. But at that time, it was new. So I wore a new jacket.
Schwitzer.
There was not very many people around because everybody who was anybody was in the Army.
Not many people around.
What?
There was no. Never mind.
Everybody was in the Army. We were down at Sandy Beach. Sandy Beach was where the people in Fall River, or Jewish people, went and spent a summer. My parents had a bungalow. My brother was still not in the army, of course. And so it was very nice. I don't remember too much about it. In fact, this whole period it's like going to college. You go day after day after day. You go to the army. You get up in the morning, you have your thing, and somewhere between 5 and 6 o'clock you come back to the barracks and you take your shower and you go and eat. And you stand in the chow line. And then you wait for the evening and you want to go to the PX and eat your ice cream. Those fellows who were more mature went and drank beer. I didn't care for the beer drinking my own by myself. So in November of '44, we were scheduled to go to Chutzlaritz, to overseas. And I forget if it was the middle of October, early November, we trained and we went to this camp about 20 minutes, half an hour from New York, up on the Hudson. I forget the name of it. And those of us who knew people were given passes. Not a pass, only during the day, not overnight. So we got on a train and we went into Manhattan, and I took the subway up to Tante Leia's house. Tante Leia lived on the west side, 812 Riverside Drive, and my mother was there, and my tantes were all there, my uncle was there, we all there, and I don't know if my father was there. My mother tells me afterwards my father felt so terrible because when I finally, it was only a couple of days. One day I managed to slip through the fence. We didn't have a pass, and we went down and went into New York, and we came the train down to Weehawken. We took the Weehawken ferry across to 42nd Street, went across 42nd Street to get on the subway to go uptown to Tante Leia's house. My grandmother, Baba, was still living. Of course, Shtika was around. And it was very thrilling. But I was so dumb. I'm as bad as my sons as far. They told us, do not say where you are. Do not say where you're going. Do not say anything that you're going overseas. And so...
You didn't say anything.
Not only didn't I say anything, but when they took me to the subway, instead of going downtown, I went uptown to confuse them where I was going. Because I had to go
Sounds
down
like a vroom. Sounds like a vroom.
I had to go from 187th Street, where Tante Leia was, down to 42nd Street. So I went uptown. No, I think she was 159th Street, wasn't she?
Who?
No, 170.
Leia? I don't know.
No, it was 100.
I was there once.
87th Street, yeah.
I don't remember.
And so I took the train uptown so they wouldn't know that I was going downtown. Don't forget, we had signs all over New York. The slip of a lip sinks a ship. We got on a ship. We finally went on a ship. We got to England about the 1st of December, so we got on the ship somewhere about the middle of November. We were 2 weeks on the ship, 2 weeks. And my platoon, we had kitchen police, kitchen duty, and we had a hell of a time for 2-3 days with the trays and making noise, and then the ship started moving. And then the ship started moving. And the ship went up and down, left and right, forward and back. And eventually, everything that was in my stomach went up, 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 and out. It's horrible to be seasick. It is horrible. I don't know if anything worse there is. It's you feel you can't hold anything down. And then, of course, you got to go to the kitchen to do something. The garbage where the trays were being cleaned was terrible. And the noise. Anyway, we eventually reached England about December 1st. And we got on trucks. and we went to our barracks in the south of England. And we stayed there, and we did some exercises, of course, a little maneuvering. It was really a waste of time. We didn't do very much at all. We did marches a little bit. We walked through the English towns walking, and we sang some dirty songs which were not nice, Roll Me Over and whatnot, just to show the British how tough we were. And Christmas Day, a day before Christmas, we got on trucks to go to Europe. And there you know my story. We got on trucks.
You're going to tell it again. You're going to tell it again.
Got on trucks.
We may stop here and you'll tell. Okay, Dave, you're on. You left off where?
We're taping this section.
Wait, what's today's date? Today's the 24th.
We're taping this section on the 24th of December 2001. 57 years ago, exactly on this day, my regiment, the 263rd Infantry Regiment, got onto their trucks and headed out to the port.
Did we plan it this way? No.
What?
We didn't plan it this way.
No, we didn't plan it this way. We got on our trucks. These are big 6x6s that could hold, I don't know, 20 men, 15 men, 30 men. I've lost relationships because there are two sides, and then you can put rows in the middle where you can also put two, so you can put anywhere from 15 to 30 men. And we headed to port to go to France.
Where were you headed to? Which port?
We're going to France.
Which port in England were you headed to?
I don't remember. We came into England in Plymouth or Southampton, and we left in Plymouth or Southampton. One is on the east, the southeast, and one is on the southwest part of England, and I'm confused. I really don't. I really didn't know. Anyway, we got on our trucks, hurried up, like all good Army people. We got on our trucks, we got on the road, and we stopped. And we stopped, and we sat, and we sat, and we sat, and we sat, hour after hour. What's going on? What's happening? Finally, sometime that evening, we went to port, we got on our ships, we found a place where we were supposed to sleep, and we went to sleep. And you know what? The ship didn't move. We stayed in port there for 2 days. The most memorable thing about that visit on the ship was that the British were so kind to us that they gave us a special chocolate drink for lunch. Well, let me tell you something. After the British had been at war for 5 years, with all the shortages they had, with no imports, with no luxuries, that chocolate drink was the worst dishwater that you possibly can ever dream of. And yet the British did us a favor by giving us that Christmas drink. Why we sat in the boats, we didn't know. Of course we know now, but we didn't know then. Finally, we shipped out after 2 days, and we landed after, I don't remember how many hours. It doesn't fit in. We landed in France, and we were going to the front, except we were not going to the front. We went up to Brittany. Brittany is in the northwest corner of France. And we set up pup tents. Here we were, ready to go to war, and we set up pup tents. What is a pup tent? 2 people sleeping in a tent. And our battalion covered a whole big field. Remember, our battalion is one of 3 battalions in the regiment. And we sat there, and we heard all kinds of reports. Our mail went up to Belgium. That means we were supposed to go to Belgium. This happened and that happened. What was up that way? That little thing called the bulge. Ruth and I, just the last few days, have been watching this
Band of Brothers
about the 101st Airborne, and of course their stand in Bastogne. So it sort of brings it alive a little bit. But we did not go there. On New Year's Eve, we went up to the line in France around the city of Saint-Nazaire. There was another city called Lorient. These were submarine bases of the Germans which were blockaded by sea, and which our army surrounded so that the 20 or 30,000 German troops there could not get out. The division we replaced, I always thought it was the 104th, but apparently it was the 94th Division which we replaced, were just as efficient and just as knowledgeable and just as ill-led as we were. They went to the Bulge, and we went on guard duty around Saint-Nazaire and Lorient. What we hear 80 to 90% of their effectives were hit.
Explain what effective. Yeah.
Effectives means either killed or wounded. An arm wound, a leg wound, is a wound. The fact that it makes you go back from the combat line to the wherever it is so that you're not available. 80 to 90%. I remind you what I told you earlier. I had never shot a gun again since I was in basic training. I had a machine gun. I was the light machine gunner. I and nobody else in my company shot a gun.
This was the entire war?
From the time we were in basic training, we never shot a gun. In Europe, I never shot a gun. Yes, I did. As a machine gunner, I had a pistol. In other words, as a sidearm, I had a pistol. The weapons carriers, the ones who carried the cans of ammunition, they carried what do you carry? What do we have on Mishmar Ezochi? The carbine, the famous carbine.
Would you stop for 1 minute, please?
Yeah.
I just want to check. Okay, Sean Connery, you're on stage. Did you know you look like Sean Connery?
Before I continue about going on the line, I would like to go back to the question of why we were delayed. Apparently, this is the story we hear. The head of our regiment, in some way or other, messed up, and a different regiment got on the boat that we were supposed to get on. That boat was sunk. We heard a rumor about this here, but it was very, very unclear and whatnot. Anyway, now we know, after many years, and we have a whole movie on it that we have in our library, about the ship, our ship that was sunk, with the 264th Regiment. They lost most of their effectives. I think something like 900 or some odd men were killed.
Oh, it was on the History Channel.
Yeah, on the History Channel.
And it's called Cover Up.
And it wasn't Cover Up.
It's called Cover Up, the sinking of the SSS Leopoldville. That was the boat that Daddy was supposed to be on. And somehow he was not on that boat.
Now,
think of how different all of our histories would be at this point.
Now,
there wouldn't be.
The interesting thing, to this day, the cover-up continues. They talk about the cover-up of generals and admirals. Hold on. Yes, I'm here. I'm here. Hello? אתם צלצלתם עלינו, משפחת קויש? זה פסח קליינט? No misot. Shalom.
All right, you can continue where you left off.
The cover-up of all the officials involved.
By the officials, not of the
By the officials and for the officials. Was so extensive it covered everybody almost from Eisenhower and Marshall down to the lowest admiral and sub-general. Interestingly enough, I ran into the following thing.
Wait, just the one point that because tonight is Christmas Eve, and the tragedy occurred on Christmas Eve, where the boat was, according to the film, not far away from the coast of France, and the SOS and Mayday went out, and there was no one manning the radio.
They were all celebrating Christmas.
And so
that was the first time.
Okay, they were just a horrible story.
We have a organization of the 66th Infantry Division, and the head of the committee is an old football teammate called Arthur Gillespie. We call him Doc. an old series in the movies, and Lionel
Barrymore.
Lionel Barrymore played Dr. Gillespie. So if your name is Gillespie, they call you Doc. I wrote to Doc, and I said, look, is it true that our regimental commander, 263rd, made a mistake, and that's the reason we were delayed in going on the ship? And I had a couple of other points. He never answered me. Finally, one day, I called him on the telephone and asked him the same thing. His only answer was, I said, otherwise I would have been on a ship. And you know what his answer to me was? Lucky you. So even to this day, whatever is not in that movie, and we have it in the house, all the people involved in that movie does not criticize anybody in the 66th Division. They criticize the British, they criticize the French, they criticize the higher army echelon. But everybody has shut up about the 66th Division, if anybody was involved in it. But getting back to the front, what was the front? We had these Germans inside that we never saw, and we had bunkers. Bunkers where we could sleep, and outside the bunker was a trench where we could stand and watch over a certain area of field. How big was the bunker? There were 6 of us. 1 was on guard and 5 were inside. When we were sleeping in our sleeping bags, remember it was on the ground, it was comfortable enough, 5 people filled the bunker. And when 1 person turned over, all 5 turned over.
Sounds like the boat you were in.
There was one place where we chanted, it was called 88 Alley, because every once in a while the Germans shot an artillery shell from their 88 gun, that's 88 millimeters, which was supposed to be very accurate. I once ran across this 88 Alley just to tempt that somebody would shoot. We once sent out a patrol or 2 from my company, and I volunteered to go, but I wasn't taken.
I thought you never volunteered.
I was dumb. Every rule has a rule.
Every rule is there to be broken.
I never shot a shot. I didn't see a German. The Germans didn't shoot at me. We all got combat infantryman badges. What does that mean? It was a small badge that, like all the Russians and British and whatnot.
You keep on talking. I'm going to go pull it out.
You got the combat infantryman
I
badge?
think you have all the badges up
Sure.
there.
So
you keep on talking and tell her the story to the camera.
What was the importance of the combat infantryman badge? We got $10 more a month. I believe it also counted for a point or 2 at the end of the war so that we could go home. Anyway, we would be on the line for a couple of weeks, and then we would go back and be in reserve. Reserve was huts that the French peasants lived in, but there were no Frenchmen around. We did see some Frenchmen. Nantes was not far away, and I remember once I had a daily pass to go into Nantes. I went in there, I wanted to buy a pipe. I didn't see anything I wanted. But somewhere I touched the pipe, and it broke, or it was broken. And
Go ahead.
Anyway, once I went into Nantes for a few hours. My mother used to send me tobacco, and I was looking for a pipe, and I went into a store, and I touched the pipe, and I didn't care for it, and the owner says to me, "You broke it, and if you break it, you got to take it." I don't know if I broke it or not, but go start a fight. So I paid a few francs, and that's what I remember about Nantes. Life on the line was not bad. We were very lucky. We were not cold. I don't remember that there was snow. Anyway, we went back and forth on the line, off the line, on the line, off the line. and the war ended. The war ended in the beginning of May. Sometime before a couple of days before the beginning of May, if I remember right, the Germans in Saint-Nazaire and Lorient surrendered. Or anyway, on the 8th of May, as I remember the 8th of May, the Russians say it was the 9th of May the war ended. We left the line and went into bivouac, our battalion, and apparently we found a cache, C-A-C-H-E, of liquor, bottles and bottles of whiskey, wine, what have you, and everybody in the battalion got a bottle of liquor, including me. Within an hour to 2 hours, you had 1,000 men drunk, staggering around or out. My sergeant, knowing that I was not a drinker, gave me a bottle of Benedictine, which was a liqueur. I tasted it a little bit. I didn't care for it. I didn't drink it. And I didn't get a sick drunk from Benedictine.
I didn't get a sick drunk?
Generally, from a liqueur, getting drunk is a much... That's what they tell me. I'm not much of a drinker. Anyway, I was given the Benedictine. From there, we went for a little vacation on the Bay of Biscay. Bay of Biscay is further south.
Is it Bay of Biscayne?
Bay of Biscay. B-I-S-C-A-Y.
I thought it was N-E and it's pronounced Biscay.
Okay. I don't know.
We'll
We'll look it up after we make